Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and I too contain a certain percentage of joy, sadness, peacefulness, irritation, surprise, and fear, minus the joy and peacefulness. Joining me on the show as usual is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to be back here on a Thursday night watching Star Trek. It just feels right somehow. It should. We've been doing it for a long time.
Oh, but I mean, going on what, 5 years?
Just about. Yeah, just about. Every single episode of every new Star Trek show. But there's nobody else that I'd rather do it with.
Me neither. This is where I want to be every Thursday night.
Yes, and maybe the cat will join us later. Who can say?
I'm sure.
Let's talk about the news in the world of Star Trek like we usually do at the start of the show. Sad news to start our news segment at the start of the show. Actress Laurel Goodwin has passed away. She is the last, or was the last, living member of the cast of the original pilot, The Cage. She's passed away at the age of 79. She was an actress in the 60s and 70s and is known for being in The Cage, and she was also played opposite Elvis Presley in his 1962 feature Girls, Girls, Girls.
Wow, that's wild. I didn't know that she was with Elvis.
She was one of the girls.
Yeah, but in one of the three.
Yes. So it's it's sad. I mean, when you are a fan of a show or in the franchise that's been around for almost 60 years, this happens, but it's weird to think that everybody from that original pilot is gone. As we are on the cusp of launching a brand new series based specifically on that pilot. So I don't know if she had been keeping track of Star Trek or was interested at all, but be interesting to see. I don't know if there'll be a Yeoman Colt character, in Strange New Worlds, but it would be very nice if they dedicated one of the episodes to her.
I mean, she must have known, right? Somebody must have told her. A grandkid, someone.
Yeah, somebody. Yeah, right. Grandma, did you know that they're going to make this crazy show based on that pilot that didn't go that you did 50 years ago?
Remember that one episode of Star Trek you did, and then it turned into a gigantic franchise?
Right. But you weren't on board for that, so yeah. Mm. But it's funny to think that, of course, the second pilot is the one that did go, and of all the people left in that, we've got George Takei, of course, William Shatner, he's going to put us all on the ground, I think, right? Like, there's nothing's going to stop that guy.
He doesn't even, I don't think he even, eats or sleeps. He's just,
yeah.
He just exists.
He has Priceline negotiated with the Grim Reaper and gotten the best deal he can, so...
Well, it's like in The Sims and the Grim Reaper comes and they're like, no. And he's like, okay, sorry.
Right. He's like, he's like, okay. And he just leaves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, we'll be, of course, covering Strange New Worlds in the future on this show. But with some Strange New Worlds related news, have you seen the Strange New Worlds trailer that just came out?
I have.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think?
And I liked it. It honestly, it made me really excited. I'm wondering if it's gonna be my favorite of the new shows so far.
Yeah.
I did not know it had dropped, except for that my friend and our previous guest on the podcast, Mo at Sound of Cosplay on Twitter, messaged me and just said shirtless Spock in the Strange New Worlds teaser, and I was like, what did she say? So it was very funny, but yeah, I watched it and I thought it was good. I'm super stoked. I feel like the more I see of it, the more excited I am.
Yeah. I wish I could grow a beard because then I could do sad cowboy Captain Pike cosplay.
That's so funny because I was just thinking today, and this, we'll get to this on our next episode, but that Frage, if anyone knows Frage, should do a Q cosplay.
Oh yeah.
He has the little beard.
Yeah,
going on.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, interesting glimpses as to what we're seeing. People are already making theories. Maybe we'll in a future show talk about some of our extended thoughts as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, looks like they got a show going, and it's interesting what they're trying to imply. Like, I don't know, we don't know where we're picking up the story exactly. We don't know what's going on with Pike or what he's thinking. Clearly, he's out, on his ranch and riding around and doing something. I thought it was funny that
he's a horse girl.
Yeah, exactly.
What can we say?
They're in the 23rd century, but he's got windmill, energy generating windmills on his property, which is like, it's great.
For the vibe.
I'm glad that the future's green, but I would hope that they would come up with something a little better than windmills. But who knows? I don't know how they run the grid on Earth in the future, but good that they're thinking about that.
He just wants to be self-sufficient. He wants to live, off the grid.
Absolutely.
He's got those high-tech windmills. He's got his horses. That's all he needs.
That's right.
No razors.
No razors. Yeah. No razor, my pony, and me, and my windmill. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about one more story before we move to our feature for this week. Of course, we're going to be talking about Picard on our next hour at 9 o'clock. But before then, I want to mention that Picard Season 3 has wrapped production and apparently has wrapped on the series. This had been kind of kicked around as a news story, unconfirmed a couple weeks ago when I think Patrick Stewart was being interviewed by somebody, and he said something about the series wrapping up. And people were unsure if he meant the entire series or just the end of production on the third season. People thought that maybe he had slipped and said series because, of course, they call TV show seasons series in the UK where he's from, but apparently no, they are done with the show. The executive producer and writer Christopher Monfett had posted on Twitter, wrap on season 3. As you watch and enjoy season 2, know that the final chapter in his story is a remarkable thing, and has it basically just confirmed that that's the end of season 3. Also, Jerry Ryan tweeted similar and said, in response to somebody who said series wrap, she said, nope, it was always intended to be 3 and done. So it seems like 3 seasons is it for Star Trek Picard.
Wow, I hadn't read that. That's so interesting. I kind of like, I've really been enjoying, especially the second season so far. Mm-hmm. But I kind of respect them for the, like, getting 3 out and then done.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked that they're done with the third, like they've wrapped on the third season already. But, it's always better to do like 3 instead of like 6. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's always, you don't want to condense it to the good stuff. You don't want you don't want to get to like 15 seasons of the show and it goes off the rail, at like 6 or whatever. Like, so that's great. I think I'll miss it. Yeah. Really, I've been really, and we'll talk about this on our next stream, but these first episodes of Picard have been very impressed by, so I hope that that's how I continue to feel.
Yeah, especially, I mean, we're just doing the next hour of the show right now, but like, especially with what we've seen so far, I have gotten pretty excited about this world. It's also, as we've talked about before, kind of the sequel to the 90s and 2000s Trek, that I love so much. And so for them to say goodbye to this world after only 3 seasons, like, I understand, but I hope they continue in some way. I feel like for the last 5 years or so we've been doing this show, they've kind of been, everything that's kind of rumored to be a show has eventually either become a show or continues to be in development. Someday we'll get this Section 31 show and the Academy show. And so I'm kind of waiting for the next round of things that they are kind of seeding, kind of, kicking around as ideas. And I would hope that, like, a Rio show or a Fenris Rangers show, or something still set in that time period in that world will pick up the torch where Picard leaves it, because I'd hate to just leave that era behind. I'm really enjoying seeing it so far.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe, I'm really enjoying it too. I feel like maybe they've hooked us all in with this stuff like, oh, Picard's back or like whatever. And they're like, oh, you want Spock? You want Pike? And now maybe they're going to wrap up Picard and start a show that's, all its own show. Starfleet Academy, maybe. All new characters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be the next show that I would want. Screw Section 31. I want the Academy show next.
Yeah. The Agnes Girardi Comedy Hour coming up in 2023. Just wacky skits with Agnes. But anyway, if you want to hear more talk like that, We'll be back at 9 o'clock to talk about the latest episode of Picard. But first, we've just seen the 12th episode of the 4th season of Star Trek Discovery. It's an episode called Species 10C. We're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning. We are setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners. So be warned, we're glad you decided to join us, but spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Species 10C is, as the DMA approaches Earth and Navarre, Captain Burnham and the crew of the USS Discovery attempt to make first contact with the powerful species responsible before it's too late. This episode was written by Kyle Jarrow and directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. There is no real facts about the episode. We're kind of, deep into season 4 here and with the penultimate episode. So just talking about the episode, what'd you think about the episode? What'd you think about Species 10C?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was amazing. I don't remember the last time that I watched a Star Trek episode that was so focused on a first contact with a species that felt so, like, actually alien.
Yeah.
Or, like, watching them figure out the language was so cool. And the excitement and also, like, danger of it. Because, they're in Starfleet, too. This is one of the big aspects of being in Starfleet, especially as, for Burnham as a captain, is to, like, make first contact, assuming you're not serving on, a second class vessel. This is lower
second
decks.
contact,
big leagues.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like wildly impressed, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, what did you think?
I thought that it was good. I thought that it was an interesting approach to it, and just echoing what you said, I thought that it was great for them to sort of dig into this premise. Let's just say that I enjoyed the arrival of Species 10C. Huh?
I was also going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I think it's the big window.
Yeah, right.
The cloudy window is really what gives it it makes you think arrival, with the language aspect and then the huge cloudy.
Right. Yeah.
Screen.
We can't talk to give me a dry erase board. We can't talk to these guys. Yeah.
I'm like, where's Jeremy Renner? Is Rachel McAdams
guest star.
Here?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah, I mean, the cross-pollination like that it happens all the time in sci-fi series. But somebody definitely looked at the back of Discovery and the open shuttle bay and thought, you know what we could do? Yeah, I got an idea of what we can do. So them sitting down and having to go through, the idea that they've got a certain syntax and you need a certain context, and the way that they unlock the language, I thought was really interesting. What I didn't think was great structurally was, putting it in like the penultimate kind of episode. The last couple of shows we've talked about the kind of mid-season doldrums, how the show has slowed down a little bit. And maybe if it had, I don't know how you would rearrange it, but maybe if it had been there and then we're just kind of ramping up into the final conflict with the last two, I personally, I think that might have worked a little better in terms of structure, but I like that they did this. Also, the fact that I know that they're all geniuses, and you've got Saru, who speaks like a million languages, and you've got Burnham's a genius, and you've got all these great minds. They figure it out in like 10 minutes. Like, if it's really that tough, like, it should probably take more than just 10 minutes. So if it had been something like the Sphere data, where it's like, we've got this message, but we're, taking time to decode it. But, that being said, I'm really glad that an episode like this exists in Star Trek. It's exactly the kind of thing that we should be doing, if we're trying to talk to Paul Winfield, with memes, or if we're trying to figure out what the bug people are saying. It's a very Star Trek type plot, and I like it for that reason.
Me too. And I think, I also was thinking at the end of this episode, I was like, wait, next week is the finale.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? And I was wishing that it had been like earlier in the season. But then, like, how long do you drag that out at the beginning? And I think, you said this too. It's like, I don't know how I would rearrange it. But I do wish, it's like this episode I just thought was so, like, phenomenal and really stood out compared to the previous episodes in the season. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for next week as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the best of this back half of the season so far. A couple different thoughts that I was having as we went through the show. I think it's so something else when they go to We want our crew to be involved, but it's like these great minds can't figure it out, and then like, well, bring Detmer, bring the pilot down here, bring Nilsson and her wig down here, bring Lieutenant Christopher down here, our new communications officer, who hasn't got to do much yet, and then immediately he gets to do something and helps them figure it out. So I thought that was that was kind of neat. But yeah, I don't know if you've ever. So they make contact and they do the flashing lights, very reminiscent of Close Encounters of the Word kind. And they're sent this craft or this vessel by the 10C. Have you ever seen the Disney movie from the 80s, Flight of the Navigator?
Describe what happens in Flight of the Navigator.
There's a kid. And he meets aliens, basically. An alien craft gets sent to Earth, and the kid is taken by the craft, but he doesn't remember it. And so he's returned to Earth 10 years later, and he's still the same age, and his parents are freaked out. But then he goes back and he meets the craft again in like an Area 51 facility, and has a friendship with him and learns to fly the craft around. It's kind of like a fun thing. It's one of the first movies to use like extensive kind of CGI effects, and the craft in that is this like silver blob, but it can sort of like,
I definitely haven't seen it, but I'm looking at it right now, and it does. I see why you brought it up.
It can change and kind of reconfigure and grow doors or change its sort of shape, and it's like that's kind of what I thought of. It's like, yeah, if you had this species that was very advanced, like these guys are big squid things, right? Like, do they have spaceships? Like, how do they even do it? They seem to like. They send out
things.
They send out for mining. They're like, no, we're going to DoorDash our boronite or whatever. And so if they're going to deal with these little talky two-legged things, they're like, okay, here's a blob of stuff, and it'll just sort of like, make whatever you need, make your atmosphere. I thought that was like a cool idea.
Also, just pretty. On both sides, pretty bold. They're like, we'll just send this thing through the force field on the back of their ship. Like, we'll put it through the back door.
Yeah, right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, I guess we'll get on that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's to boldly go. Risk is their business at some point. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just read this book called Saturn Run. Have you heard of this? You know what I'm talking about? And they basically it's basically a first contact story, but it's much more of like it's kind of like if The Martian was like first contact, like there's lots of science in it, and they make first contact, but it's like an AI. It's not the actual aliens. Anyways, it just reminded me of that because it's like they get there finally, and they spent like a year getting to Saturn to find out why there's a ship there, and then they get there and it's like this huge thing, and they just go on there. And then when they get there, you're like, and now I guess this is what we meant to do the whole time, but now we're really just going to walk. We're going to put our little boots on the ground out here. Like,
I guess we're astronauts. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
When they first went to the moon, they were pretty sure, but they couldn't be totally sure that the lunar dust wouldn't be meters and meters thick. This dead planet with no erosion. Or past, the meteor impacts that created it. So they didn't know if the LEM would just go foop, and that would be like 3 astronauts have died today, and they, slipped the surly bonds of Earth.
Can you imagine?
As it turned out, it was fine if you believe that the moon landing happened at all. But no, it was fine. But they didn't know. It reminds me of Contact, the book and the movie, where not only do they have to interpret the message that they receive from the Vegans, but also at some point Jodie Foster's just got to go in this thing. It's like, we don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, or like Arrival with the bird, the canary in the coal mine thing. It's like, it's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
I mean, it turned out okay-ish, even though Book and Tarka.
Yeah, we don't know if we're making friends or if it's a desire for more cows. We don't know.
Exactly. I feel like Book biffed it. I feel like, Tarka maybe technically this episode. I feel like Tarka biffed it.
Yeah.
I feel like Tarka spooked him.
It doesn't, I don't think that, like, we don't have to be fooled by a twist. I think that we kind of felt like this is kind of where it was going to end up, right? At some point, Book would be presented an alternative. He would be pushed too far, and react, and Tarka would, want to take it all the way, which is, more or less what we got. I like the fact that it was Jet Reno that got to be the kind of catalyst for that, to sort of like help Book, make that step to like, let's not do this. This is dumb. Although I wonder, before they started shooting this season, they said that, Tig Notaro wouldn't be around a lot because she was busy with other stuff. So I don't know if they could, they knew they could get her for the finale. So like, we'll just put her in the finale. She'll be, a part of that. I'm wondering if, as far as Death Watch goes, nobody's really gone yet, but I'm kind of wondering if some people should be on the Death Watch for the end of the season here.
You think they're going to kill the Vulcan president?
Oh my God!
Die.
Oh, I hope not.
I'll die. Take me instead. I know that I have every week I come on here and I'm like, I'm so embarrassed when Saru starts talking about, but I really, right. If she dies, I would really have some feelings. I would be really very sad.
It'd be really bad. I don't want that. Apparently something has happened between them. We talked about how they kind of went off before and we didn't see what happened.
They took a walk.
Yeah, they took a walc.
Maybe they did some hand touching.
Yeah, so some light hand touching. I liked how Burnham was able to give him context, and of course that the whole episode's about context. But she's like, yeah, Vulcans are like, they're nice in private, but then in public they're just gonna neg you. They're just gonna like totally like just chill you out, because that's what they do. So just watch for that, and
that was such a sweet scene. Like, that was so nice. But I also was like, obviously, Saru, you idiot. Like, right. Clearly, she's not going to be like, asking you to dinner around these people she's Vulcan.
They're just making out. Yeah. That's not gonna be the way it is. But we'll have to see if that develops or if she dies. But God, hope not. What else was going on? The dots, the robots got a real workout in this episode, and I don't. We've dodged the question of the sentience of the dots. They seem to be real helpful and have a lot of personality last season, and I think we've just assumed that that's like Zora working through them, because this time around we send a bunch of them out and it's like they're all gone. It's like, oh no, oh, dots 1 through 16, God no. But I guess that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Cute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when your Roomba is like, I'm stuck by a cliff, and it's like, oh no.
Right, yeah.
But it's like, the Roomba,
oh my God, the Roomba needs help. Yeah, I gotta get home. Yeah. So we don't have to worry about them too much. I wanted to see this field that they live in, or at least this like organic looking kind of orb that surrounds their space, is very fascinating. And maybe they didn't have time, but I hope that either in the next episode or if this resolves, we learn more about where they live, because we talked about how they seem to be kind of isolationist. Maybe that's a side effect of how strange they are. These guys were definitely not seeded by the weird bald guys from the episode The Chase. Like, they have evolved maybe from outside of our galaxy, so it's hard to talk to other species that they meet. But also they mention, it's a real quick line, but they mention that all the worlds in their solar system have all the same characteristics. So clearly at some point they've gone through and, like, I don't know how many planets they have, but they've terraformed each one of these planets to make them exactly the right environment for them. So clearly they're a very advanced, race. And I just think that that's really fascinating. Maybe we'll get one of those things where we talk about having a cultural exchange of technology, and then we never see any of that technology appear again. But like, to meet a race that can pretty much at will, they can make, we didn't even mention last week the Dyson rings that they found around the star where they used to live. Like these mega structures, it's just like, it's really exciting that even in the 32nd century, and Starfleet's got personal teleporters and all this stuff, they can still meet races that are like, wow, what these guys can do is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I mean, the scale of them is crazy in and of itself, and then the technology. So it's very, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. It is really reminding me of, and again, I just finished this book Saturn Run, but it's like in Saturn Run they like get to take home like all this like, all the specs for like new space tech, and so it would be like it would be so interesting if they were like Mushroom Drive, that's so like 10,000 sticks, you know?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
want like,
Mushroom Drive.
I don't know,
Yeah.
what's a step above the Spore Drive? Like what would be the next, what would be like the futuristic, like what? Like a pine tree?
The Infinite Improbability Drive, but they'd have to get permission from the Douglas Adams estate to to do that. Um, I don't know, man. Like I'm still reeling from mushrooms. Like that's a big reach. Uh,
Mushrooms can do a lot.
yeah, apparently they
You ever
can.
seen Hannibal?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. What's Brian Fuller's thing with mushrooms? Um, guy's got mushrooms in the brain. Um, you weren't scared at all by. So there's a cool conversation. Once again, Culper is kind of counseling Zora. But right before that happens, Culber's talking to Stamets, and they're talking about, oh man, after this is all over, we got to take a long vacation and just chill out. Like you didn't see that as like, there's a clock ticking somewhere, or like around the Sims death is at the door. That's like 2 days to retirement in Star Trek.
I guess I just felt like, when people love work too much and they're like, we gotta take a long vacation because they're always working overtime, but then they
Yeah,
never take the vacation.
yeah,
That's kind of the
that's
vibe I got from that.
it's me.
I
Yeah,
I don't wanna. I mean, we couldn't. With peace and love to Wilson Cruz, Culber I could lose. Stamets, he needs to stay.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I don't know
Did you get the
either.
vibe like, oh, it's foreshadowing and they're gonna dip just like Tilly?
Oh, just like leave the show. I don't know. If Discovery is going to be on for a long time, and it seems like it is, I think it's okay to. I mean, I want the actors to like have work and stuff, but like, I think it's. I miss Tilly, but I think it's okay that she's gone as long as she comes back. I think that we've got such a big crew; it's fine to sort of to cycle them in and out. So yeah, maybe it's just that. Um, but I just got that sort of like cold chill feeling, like, oh
The
no,
sixth sense,
something
yeah.
is being suggested here.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
But I hope not. What do you think about the fact that we find out that Cleveland Booker is a title that is sort of passed down from courier to courier?
Like a pirate.
Yeah, exactly, like a pirate. Like it's sort of like the tile that you hang as a courier. You're like, this is the Booker brand, and so don't worry, I'm gonna retire, but Booker number three, he's a good man. He's gonna be good at this.
To be honest, it went in one ear, and then I was like, I'm gonna take that and put that over there. And I was like,
Sure.
yeah, I was just like, but his family called him Book, right?
He
The
had the
scenes
talk
that
with his family. Look, I'm Booker now.
I've
You'll address
changed
me
my
as
name.
Book or Booker.
Like, don't you think his family would have, if he had taken on the title of Cleveland Booker as a courier? Like, don't you think that then his family would be like, I was about to be like Mike, and then I was like, we already have Michael. That doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
Stanley,
Well, I mean,
welcome home.
there is friction with his family, or there was, before they said they were going to go on that long vacation, and then the planet blew up. So I don't know. Maybe that did exist. Um, if Discovery ever goes off the air, or if they spin another show off, like a courier show could be cool. Like let's explore the entirety of the galaxy in the 32nd century, not just the parts that touch the Federation, but like get a
Something more Firefly-esque.
yeah, Firefly-esque. Get a guy or a girl in a transforming ship who is just doing jobs, like the Mandalorian, right? Mandalorian. Every single episode, he's like, I need the thing for the thing. And they're like, well, I'll give you the thing if you do the thing for me. And he's like, all right. And then something goes wrong and he's got to fix it with his wits. And so,
I love that show. It's so like I love the like monster of the week thing to me. Like Supernatural did that too in its first couple of seasons where it's like something weird's happening.
right.
There's a demon in the kid, right?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, in the Mandalorian, it's like I need the space thing, but to get it, I have to shoot the space troll and answer his riddles 3.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I really That would be fun. I would, it's just good. Almost like like Lower Decks does that almost, where like every episode it's like, okay, I think that there's a parasite in Boimler's girlfriend. Um, yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Let's talk about Quisling Watch, where we look to see who's going to betray everybody. We know that Ndoye has already come out as somebody who is working against the Discovery's efforts to contact the 10C. Do you think we got some kind of interesting kind of literal looks at the character reacting to things, but kind of looks at like how deep she's into this now, and they're picking this crew to go aboard, and she's like, I'm good. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here and just check on
Well,
things.
she had to though, right? Because she had to like answer Book
Right.
and Tarka, so she like couldn't go if she's going to continue to,
Yeah.
monitor that.
Now that the cat, as it were, is out of the bag, do you think that she will have to own up to her participation, or is she going to try to keep that a secret and keep sort of working with them?
I don't think she's going to say anything until she has to. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there'll be like they'll have Tarka and they'll be like, "Why'd you do this?" And they'll be like, "She helped me," as they're like dragging him out. But
Yeah.
just for the drama of it. I don't know. To be honest, I mean, maybe she's the one who's going to die. Maybe she should be on our death watch.
Oh.
Like maybe she's going to eat it before, like, she's going to redeem herself in the end. She'll eat it before anyone realizes what she's actually done, or just after they realize what she's done. What a clown though, right? I mean, I guess she's just concerned about Earth. She's like, we got 4 hours here, people. So if we're just going through the linguistics of it, the math isn't working out. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting that that the Earth representative is like the one who's like, I don't think so. Vulcan is like, no, we're going to work on this problem. We're going to figure it out. And the Earth person's like,
Earth is like, get the TNT, light the dynamite.
Pull the plug. That's what we're going to do. So that's interesting. Like, I could see her being killed. I could see her being redeemed. But you're saying redeemed then killed.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wasn't I just talking about this? Who was I? I feel like I just said this about a different character. Was it Tarka? Or was it Book? I feel like I just...
I think it was Book.
Already brought up, because I feel like I already brought up Merle in The Walking Dead, who had a really fantastic redemption episode and then died.
Right.
Spoiler alert. But, same premise. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Book died. If Tarka died, I don't think it'd be satisfying.
Really? You think it'd be unsatisfying if he did not die?
Well, I don't think it would be like...
Satisfying if he lived.
If he does die, I don't think it would be like when you're like, that guy deserves, I hope that he dies when he does this bad thing. But then when he does die, you're kind of like, whatever,
Yeah, right.
I think it would feel better, like not feel better, but be more tragic, more motivating if somebody like Booker, is it Ndoye or Ndoya died?
I think Ndoye.
Ndoye died in like in the final effort,
Yeah. Well, this is a show that, kills its villains. The villains have pretty much without fail died at the end of every season. So if Tarka is, if we're considering him the real villain here, then it seems like he's slated to not make it through.
I mean, maybe he will get back to his universe though.
Maybe his whole universe will be destroyed.
He was still working on the transporter. In the middle of the the episode, so I feel like, I don't know. I think it would be more. I still kind of want him to just be able to get back to his buddy, who, and I feel like I've brought up Supernatural several times in the past few weeks. It is played by an actor who played a decently large character on Supernatural, which is crazy. I didn't realize because of the,
Okay.
But
Oh no, that's right. I was going to mention that. We didn't talk about it in previous weeks. You're right. He is. Gosh, what does he do? He's some young actor who's on something that I don't know about because I'm old. But I looked up his Twitter and he has like 200,000 followers. He's probably the most famous person who's ever been on Star Trek. And he was like tweeting stuff on his account like, yeah, what's up? Just finishing up, doing Star Trek. Awesome. Dream come true. And it's like I said, he's probably got the most followers of anybody who's ever done Star Trek. So a real coup. And I got no idea who he is.
80. That's because 85% of those followers are Supernatural stans.
Okay, well there you go. But I'm all for it.
I also just double check because I wasn't positive. His name's Osric Chow, but he played a character on Supernatural. Like,
yeah.
Anyways, it's very well.
I'm all for it.
I want Tarka to get back to. I want him to go to paradise.
Have Walker Texas Ranger, go through a time portal and supernatural crossovers. I'm all for it.
No, please don't invoke the name.
You never know. Anything else? Oh, go ahead.
This is another Supernatural joke. I feel like I keep doing jokes from different franchise. I'm like Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Supernatural jokes.
Right. Well, I did the Hitchhiker's Guide before, but go ahead.
I was going to say from my I was going to put myself on blast because from my Supernatural era when the show was good, I had gotten many of the actors to, and I don't think I ever met Osric, but I had gotten many of the actors to sign a replica Kansas license plate that was on the car in the show.
Oh.
And then a maintenance man came to my apartment and he said, "I got to ask, are you from Kansas?" And I was like, the answer is so much worse.
Yeah.
And I had to he didn't know what the show was.
Just carry on.
Relief for me, frankly. I was like, thank God this man. Don't say those words in this house.
I'm trying to think of anything else. A lot to think about in this episode, but a good setup, I think, for the last episode, which can barely believe it's the last episode. What do you think is going to happen? How do you see this whole thing playing out?
Okay, I'll just make some bets, and then we can see how many of them I get right.
Okay.
I think Book will die. I think Ndoye will go to prison for treason. And I think Tarka, my gut feeling is that he will either die with Book or he will be able to transport himself off. What else we got going on here? Oh, I think Saru and Madam President will finally have a little candlelit dinner. What haven't I covered? Is there anything I feel?
Zora.
Obviously,
Zora prediction.
Zora, I just feel like I feel like they're not gonna, she's not gonna shoot off in the last episode here. I feel like we're gonna get at least, Zora's gonna make it to next season. I feel like she's gonna stay on the ship because I feel like we've committed at this point to just having a sentient vessel.
Yeah.
Which if I lived on that ship would make me nervous, but I don't, so it's none of my business.
You can play chess whenever you want to against a computer.
I will say that I am an only child, and a sentient computer that would play board games with me, it does sound, that sounds appealing. It does. I don't know. I guess those are my gut feelings or my bets that I'm willing to take. I don't know if I have any other. Michael will be sad because Book is acting like a buffoon. I don't know. What do you think?
Here's what I think, and I'll just take your 5 points. I think Book will live, but because I don't think this show throws away, characters and actors that they like. So I think he'll live, but it will be either he'll go to jail or it'll be, strained. Like he will go off to seek his fortune, and Michael will have to feel bad about it. I think
what's going to happen to Grudge?
Yeah, what happens to Grudge?
If Book's alive, what happens to Grudge?
A little kitty jail, doing feline hard time. I think
she has all handcuffs on.
Right. Is it just on the front or is it on all four?
All four, but also then the tail has to be locked down.
Tail too.
Something with the tail. Yeah.
I think Ndoye will. I'm going to steal your redeemed but die. Maybe she'll do Admiral Cornwall, and she'll hit the button that stops the DMA explosion, but she's blown up with it. I think Tarka is not going to make it back. I'm writing all these down. This is why I'm doing this.
Die or get zipped off to paradise.
I think that he will die because he's a guest star. He's not. They don't want to hold on to him. And Osric, the pictures that he posted were his last day. They didn't look like he was like new scenes. You know what I mean? Like it looked like it was.
We don't need to see him though. We just need to see Tarka transporting away.
Okay, but I don't think that he'll make it back. And yeah, I definitely I have to. We don't have to do different for everyone. I think Saru and Madam President will make it happen. And Zora,
a little hand touch, perhaps.
Yeah.
And get scandalous.
His giant hands and her little hands.
His huge alien hand.
And we got to go somewhere with Zora. If we're going to get to Calypso future, or if that's going to ever happen, we've got to do something with that. So I don't know. I like you. I don't think that they are ready to do it right now. But they've gone through the galactic barrier. They're in interstellar or intergalactic space. Like this is big. If there's ever a time to do something, this would be the time to do it. So I guess I'm not going to do specifics, but I am going to say we're going to move Zora towards Calypso. I think so.
Oh, there's going to be a little hint of something.
Yeah, because when we see, maybe she'll be lost in space or intergalactic space. When we see Zora in Calypso, they're in.
He makes them evacuate the ship.
Maybe, yeah. When in Calypso, when we see the ship, it's in like this, like a lightning storm in space. Like it's in like a weird cloudy sort of thing, So, and then if Kraft in that episode is trying to get away from the Federation or the Vidrash, then maybe he has made it to, almost intergalactic space getting away. So I don't know. It's a big swing, but I'm going with it.
Well, one of us is going to win big.
Yeah. Win all the nothings. There's no prize.
Exactly. One of us is going to win big.
One of us is going to win.
It's like fantasy football, but there's no prize or consequence.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Just like fantasy football. Yeah.
It's exactly like fantasy football.
Fantasy Parisi squares. There you go. You get fantasy life-threatening injuries from it. Well, I think that's it for our show this week. We got to clear out because we got another one coming in. But thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPod for updates and to get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. You can tweet to us on the show using the hashtag Discoverage, and you can email us at eist@gmail.com. Something like that. When you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed. Give us a rating and a review. It really helps us out. If you want to help the show grow, stop by our Patreon at patreon.com/EISTpod. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on March 17th for the 13th and final episode of Star Trek Discovery's 4th season, and we'll be here next Thursday to cover it. We're going live once again at 8 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPOD to get notified when we are live and broadcasting. And in the meantime, why not check out our main show at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series, and we have news from the Trek sphere and special guests. In fact, this week, our latest episode dropped, and on it, I'm joined by New York Times and USA Today bestselling author David R. George to talk about Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, best Star Trek film ever? I guess you'll have to listen to find out. It's very cold in space, but we have a very warm discussion about one of the standout TOS films. You can find that show in our show feed or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Discovery and remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. My home podcast is called Generations Geek. I do it with my dad. We do not have a supernatural episode.
Maybe you should. Yeah.
We do. I know, right? We do have some Hunger Games episodes, and frankly, he's behind on Star Trek and on our podcast. So I'm going to say it right now that I've been working on him to watch Twilight because I think it would be the funniest thing in the world to make my father watch Twilight. Obviously, he's never seen it. He has no idea what happens in it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be hysterical. So, I mean, everyone keep your fingers crossed. Everyone tweet at my dad,
Yeah.
Say watch Twilight.
Have you ever talked about Planet of the Apes?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We got, that's maybe getting back into territory people to find me saying something embarrassing as a younger teenager. Yeah, well, because we had, those new movies come out. So, yeah, we did some Planet of the Apes shows.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I got to listen to that.
I think we've done several.
I've never seen the new movies because I was just like, I think I'm good on Planet of the Apes, but I really enjoyed the new Batman movie directed by Matt Reeves that directed a couple of those. So maybe I've been missing something. I'm going to go check it out.
I'm sorry. We have to stop. We have to hold the show for a second because have you've seen the Robert Pattinson Batman already?
We'll talk about it next hour. So if you want
okay.
Picard talk and Batman talk, come right back. That is, you can find me on Twitter at K1IBAN, and you can find all the shows on the Just Enough Trope Network at Just Enough Trope on Twitter, and that is it for us. Thanks for listening. We are signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.